Hi there. So to start off, what we're going to do is open up Photoshop, create a new file, and the new file's description would be 1920 by 1080, the resolution, and we're going to call it Pinboard, just like so. So what we're going to do is open up the layer, and then what we need is we actually need the background image. So what you can do is actually generate it through ChatGPT, or you can just pull this from the description, which I will link all the assets as well as this background, so you can use this one as well if you want to follow along. Now what you can do is scale this up to fit the comp and just press enter. Now if you see, and if you notice, this actually ChatGPT kind of generates these images in a more warmer shade rather than on the cooler side. So what you can do is actually we're going to do like a quick color correction. So go to filter and then go to camera filter, and we're just going to tweak some settings. Mainly what we're going to do is crank up the exposure. I'm going to make it slightly less warm, increasing the exposure slightly even. So you can see kind of the before and after and how the image kind of looks. So now what you can do is we're going to start with the main image or the hero image of the thumbnail. So what you can do is you can actually pull this. We're going to pull this from Google. For this, we're going to use Elon Musk, because why not? So I'm just going to look through and pick an image, pull it to Photoshop, just like that. So I have the image right here. Now what we actually need the box to put the image in. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this rectangle tool and kind of generate or make a box ourselves, kind of like this. You can make it bigger or smaller or change the shape. You can also design it vertically, so something like this, but we're going to keep it vertical, kind of almost square. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just right click and clipping mask, so that way it just affects, it's basically inside the box, right? And then I'm going to press enter. I'm going to add like a stroke, which I can add directly from the rectangle section, not much. Then what we need to do is we actually need to add some dynamic lighting into this whole thumbnail. What this will do is basically enhance the whole thumbnail from the starting point. So whatever we add into it will just increase the realism and this overall lighting of the thumbnail. So what I'm talking about is create a new layer and then pitch your brush, make it super big, so you can kind of eyeball it, but something like that. Make the flow around 40%, and then the hardness would be 0. Right now, what you can do is pick the black color, make it bigger, and then just add almost like a vignette. It is basically a vignette, but the beauty about doing it with hand is you can kind of you can tweak it pretty much to your own liking with each tap or like stroke. So I think that's kind of fine. I'm gonna need to then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add another light on top, so something like this, and then I'm also gonna overlay it. So it kind of looks pretty basic, nothing crazy, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to add shadows to it now. So what we're going to do is this is the base image, right, which I've grouped. I'm going to name it base, and then I'm going to create a new layer on on the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is pick this tool. I believe it's called polygonal. Okay, a polygonal lasso tool. And then what I'm going to do is you can just follow me. This gonna create like a overlapped shadow, and there's a reason why I'm doing it like this. And then I'm gonna pick the black color and then control backspace to fill it. Okay, oops. Okay, and then control D to deselect. Now as you can see, whenever you see shadows or lighting, they are not even in the most cases, right? They're not even. So what I wanted to do is kind of create this realistic effect of the shadow hitting from the top to bottom, and then when I blur it out, you'll kind of see how it's looking. But for now, what we're going to do was we're going to add a slight blur, not too much. I think 2.6 is perfect. And then what we're going to do is find blur gallery and then field blur. I think this is the magic source. So what we're going to do is add this thing right here. You can just click it to add it. And then we're going to add 3 here. So for this one, we're going to increase the blur. And maybe, I don't know if you can see it. But yeah, we're going to basically increase it to like 42. And then what we're going to do is put this to 0. Put this to 0. As you can see, it says 0. So what it does is it creates this natural blur and light which you see in realistic shadows or like real shadows, right? Because shadows are not even, so is lighting. So you can see this really nice looking, really realistic looking shadow, right? Now what you can do is actually lock these layers and you can name them shadow. I think this is just the layer, so I'm going to delete this one. And then for this one, I'm going to name it light. Now, this is the base of the image. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add some things into it. This would be available in the description, but I'm just going to pull this. So we're going to add this pen thing. We're going to go place it on here, actually. So you can kind of see it looks tilted because it's basically hanging from one side, which I wanted to create. And then what we can do is zoom in. Now another shadow, we're going to create another shadow, another realistic shadow. Actually pull this to the bottom of the shadow, and then create a new layer. Now we're going to do this by hand as well. So pull the, select the lasso tool again, and then create this shape. Right, so it's almost like a spherical shape. And what we're going to do is, instead of filling it this time, we're going to take the brush. Now this is extra, you don't need to do this, but you can do this way. I'm just going to fill it like this, so you can kind of see. And Control D to deselect it, obviously. And then pull it behind or like on the bottom of the pin. Now what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to go to Blur Gallery and then Field Blur. And then what I'm going to do is put it to 0 and then push this to, I don't know, depends. I think 18 is perfect, and then press enter. And now you can see we have this really cool realistic shadow. Okay, so we have the basic system or like setup ready. Now what we can do is play around and add more things. So we're gonna pull the string, or no pun intended, but like add the string. What I'm going to do is move this up and place it just like this, and just move it to the bottom of your like pen and shadow and everything. And then what we can do is make a duplicate and then do something like this. So you can kind of see it is starting to work, right? Now what you can do is, now this is up to your creativity, wherever you want to add something. So I'm gonna duplicate it into another one. Actually do it like this. Yeah, I think it looks cool. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add like a note here, and you can add whatever you like, but I'm gonna add like a note or something. So to create a node, create a new layer, and then for this I'm going to create a pen tool. You can create it with a rectangle or whatever you like. You can also use like pull an image from Google, but I'm going to create it on my own. So I don't need the stroke for it, so I'm going to disable it. And then what we need to do is create the shape of it. So I'm going to create it something like this. I'm gonna add like a slight curve to it, not much, but a slight curve. You can hold it and then push it to whatever side. That's how you create a curve. And what you can do is, I'm not really liking the curve. Okay, I think that's fine. And then Okay. Yeah, I think that's okay. Not completely horrible. But yeah, we're gonna change the color of it. I'm gonna do like a yellow, like an off shade of yellow or something like this. I think that's fine. Not too horrible. Actually, what I'm gonna do is hit Control T and then skew it a bit. Okay, looks much better. And then I'm gonna Control T and make it bigger again. Now, what I need to do in this is actually add some form of text. So what we're gonna do is, I don't know what text to add, but we can say scam of 100 billion. And then we're gonna add like a $sign. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a group of this. So the shape and the text, create a group, and I'm gonna name it layer note. And then I'm gonna put it on the top of these string layers. And again, we're gonna create a shadow the same way we did for the picture, which is use the polygonal tool. Well, actually, we can use pen tool as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a curve shadow, create a slight curve, and then something like this. And then I'm going to create in black color. Now again, we're going to add like a slight blur, convert it to smart object, that's fine, around 2. And then we're going to go to filter again, go to blur gallery, and then create a blur, and then add blur here, then put it to 0 and put this to 0 as well, on something like this. Yeah, I think that's fine. Now we're going to press enter. I'm going to actually move this slightly, do some modifications. So what you can do is actually hold control and kind of skew things around. So if you hold control right now, and then as you can see, it's kind of skewing around in your own way. So I kind of want to hide this and this even more, and then press enter. Okay, awesome. And then I'm going to move it slightly below and lower the opacity. Okay, now one more extra step that I'm going to do is create a new layer, create a clipping mask, and then add a light on top, just like so, and put it to overlay. That's it. Close the thing. And now because it's kind of just hanging, there's no like tape on anything, we're gonna add like a tape PNG, which you can find. Just like that. Now if you want, you can add like a shadow on this as well, but I don't think I'm gonna add anything. Maybe a drop shadow, let me see. So yeah, you can maybe add like a slight drop shadow. Yeah, just like that. But yeah, so far we are going good. Now what we need to do is pull, like add some images and cutouts and whatnot. So I'm gonna go back to Google again and maybe type article. Now you can also make these or use whatever you find. Like I like this image a lot. So it depends on you. You can create this or you can pull this from Google if you find it. So I'm just going to use this actually. And I'm going to put it right here. Actually, let me see. Yeah, if I download it's higher resolution. So yeah, just add anything that you can find. Yeah, this is a higher resolution. And then I'm just going to push it to the bottom. Just like that. And then I'm going to make it slightly tilted. And I'm going to use the pin again. Also forgot to create a group with the shadow, but yeah, create a group, name it pin, and then you can just reuse this as many times as you like. So I'm going to reuse this on here. So as you can see, looks good. For the shadow, we're going to do the same thing. Create a new layer. Use the polygonal tool. Create a slight extra edge or like overlap. Control backspace to fill. Slight blur. And then go back to field blur. Push this to here. And then put it to 0. Put this to 0 as well. So you have your own shadow. And then you can lower the opacity. So you have your very subtle and realistic shadow as well. Now this is the base of the thumbnail. Now it's up to you to go and add as many images as you like. One more step that I want to do is add like a shadow to the string. So I'm gonna go to the string, create a drop shadow. I'm gonna keep the opacity fairly low. What I just need is distance, so you can kind of see. Yeah, so I just need the distance, and you can see the angle is kind of off. It doesn't match where the string starts or ends. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the angle to the point that it matches. So I think, okay, so the distance is the issue, not the angle. Yeah, let me see. Okay, I think that's perfect. And yeah, so as you can see, I have this really realistic blurred shadow. And what I'm going to do is actually right click and copy the layer style, and you can paste it to each layer of the string. So as you can see, it's already starting to look really nice. Now it's up to you to add whatever you like, whether that's maps, cache, more images, more cutouts. If you want to create more cutouts, you want to create more notes. And I've just given you the base, and I'm gonna probably add more things. I'm gonna show you the final result, but this is the basic structure of how you create the thumbnail, and then we're just gonna add more stuff onto it, and then I'm gonna show you the final result. So as you can see, I've added a lot of stuff on the thumbnail now. There's a flag, there's more images, there's like a note, cache, and then there's this tweet with like a texture on top. So I've had a lot of things, and the thumbnail is pretty much finished. Now what I do need to add in the end is like a text. So what I'm gonna do is create a new layer, and then we're gonna put a text. We're gonna type something like fraudster, and then for the font I'm probably gonna use Gotham Black, and I'm gonna make it much bigger, something like that. And then to kind of highlight this, we're gonna use either a red shape like a rectangle behind it, or like a yellow one, depending on. I don't need a stroke, so I'm gonna disable the stroke, but with a fill I think I would prefer the yellow. Yeah, I do like the yellow better. I'm gonna make this slightly smaller so there's more breathing space, and then I'm gonna make this shorter, so kind of like this, and I'm gonna just actually make it a group. So hold both of these with control and then hit grouped text, and then we're gonna make it much larger. Now as you can see, there's kind of the text is kind of getting cut, so what you can do is actually select the note which is right here, and we could probably make it smaller or move this up. I think that is fine. And lastly, we can also add some drop shadow to the fraudster text, which is this. And remember to put the text on top of everything so it doesn't get in the shadow. So put it on the top. But lastly, what we're going to do is, because we didn't do any color correction on these images, I'm just going to select the Elon Musk's image, gonna go to camera filter, and then just going to do a few tweaks. So I'm gonna crank up the vibrance saturation, and then I'm gonna crank up the clarity and the haze really a lot, and texture a lot, because we kind of want to show the thumbnail being dramatic, and the topic and the thumbnail is like a dramatic thumbnail, so we're gonna make it this really sharp, probably contrast as well. So something like that. You can even make him black and white. Actually, I'm going to make Trump black and white to create more of a dramatic feel. And then I'm going to crank up the exposure, and then crank the clarity and the haze a lot. Something like that. And even increase the vignette. Okay. Something like that. Yeah, like that. And lastly, what you can do is hold Control and then Shift to the last layer, and then create a group, Control J, Control E, and then you have like one layer, and then you can do your final tweaks on the final thumbnail, which would be, you know, the usual stuff: exposure, vibrance saturation, clarity perhaps, and then sharpness. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys like it, and if you have any questions, leave them below. If you need the assets that I've used in the video, that's going to be in the description, so you can follow along, use those. And yeah, the video kind of shows you how to create like a basic structure, and then you can put whatever you want in the thumbnail according to you, whether that's medicine, text, cache images, cutouts, PNGs, whatever the case is. You can put it